apologies. I got distracted by an incoming message. So I'm saying that the first one, I managed to do this the the checking with the reference. Well, it wasn't a reference, but it's because they listed this particular hospital. So fortunately, I knew the person. I did that before I could shortlist them because I wanted to know if their claims were legitimate. There were stronger applicants than this individual, but there's a specific reason why I wanted to shortlist them. So that worked. Then this other one, unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity to interact with one of the people they listed as the references. It's a person I work with closely, so I did, subsequent to the interview, I then had a chat with the person, the reference, and the reference tells me I last worked with this person, like physically and closely, around 2011. We're in 2024 now. They still do interact, and their relationship is positive, but not positive enough that they can be a reference, especially for this position or job role that they are applying for. So now that takes me back to that conversation that I had a while back to say that please check who you list as your reference. You can't list someone you last worked with 5-10 years ago if you are not sure how they perceive you and potentially what they would say about you, especially if you are unaware about what they say about you, and they are going to say these things or write these things, like maybe they get requested to write a reference report. You don't know, you're not sure. I said that I still use references on my CV from way back, people I last worked with a decade or more ago. But I'm fortunate in the sense that I've worked with a number of people in different capacities, environments, and a lot of people I've worked with I got close enough to know that they would say this and this about me. Now, remember, in the workplace, we are professionals. We are here to work, but we are still humans. And humans are unfortunately, by default, judgmental. By default, like to draw conclusions based on nothing sometimes. So wherever I work, there are people who will like me, there are people who won't like me. There are people who will be indifferent about me, but will have an opinion about my work ethic, negative or positive. You know, people who work closely with me, they get to understand me, right? And I'm fortunate in that I'm always in most circumstances, I'm always blessed to have a people who, despite my efforts to avoid social interactions, conversations and all of that with people I work with, but there are people who will always go out of their way to get to know me, to get to understand me. And I always ask myself, because I can never ask them, it will sound weird or like I'm self-absorbed. I try not to ask that question, but I always find it fascinating as to what interests people to me, but a story for another day. So these people, they get to understand, because in the beginning, now I've got my own way of working, which, if you're looking at it from a distance, it doesn't make sense. And I can easily be accused of this and that, which happens quite a number of times. I'm not bothered by it, because I know why I work the way I do. And I've got this thing which I've always had, that if you don't ask me something directly, I'm not going to give you unsolicited answers or responses or explain myself. If you want me to explain, then tell me to do so. So in any work environment, you're going to have these individuals who understand you, those who don't, those who like you, those who don't, all of that. So you need to know who's who. And you need to know, because you know based on if you can read people, people who are so-called fakes, who laugh with you, but behind your back they say things about you. I don't know if we are all fortunate in that regard, because with me, people say things about me behind my back. They do things, they think I don't know, but one, I get a sense, I like to study people, I like to read people, so I can pick up when someone is doing or saying things about me based on things they say to me about other people, by the way. That's one. Two, generally about them, how they behave, how they speak, how they do things. Then you'll get subtle commentary from your colleagues. So I always say that I listen to what you are not saying more than what you are saying. So I read between the lines. So that is another way that I can pick up that someone is saying stuff about me. It doesn't bother me, but it's good to know, because then I know what to say to who, how to behave, to this with this person and that person. So essentially, my point being that then you know who you put as your reference and who you don't put as your reference. The continued habit of wanting to just list people is unfortunate, especially in this current economic climate where people are losing jobs left, right, and center, and there are very few jobs being created relative to the demand. It was not a problem 10 years back. The issue of references was just a formality for some of us, but now it's crucial. It's crucial. You can be a very good applicant on paper and a strong candidate in the interviews, But if your references are giving bad references about you, you are gone. And the sad thing is you never really know, because when you call HR to follow up, they are never gonna tell you that your referee, unless you know someone in HR. But if you don't, they won't tell you. So the references can make or break you. So if you're not careful about who you list, you literally can find yourself attending multiple interviews and not getting callbacks. There's a phenomenon where people misbehave at work. Sometimes because they think that it doesn't matter. No one can tell them. You know, they know it all. Sometimes because they know they are just in transit and they are living for a better opportunity, greener pastures. But you don't know life. Life throws the funniest things at people, and what you think are greener pastures can turn out to be a barren land. And then you want to go back to Egypt, but you are banned from Egypt because of how you behaved when you were there. It's all good and well to want to be vocal, fight for your rights and all of that, but you need to be careful. We live in a different society now. People literally can blackball you, you know. You literally can be blackballed. There are people with that influence that can make sure that as far as their influence can reach, you never get employment. Very common in academic circles, by the way, in our fraternity. So when you want to fight the man, when you want to take on people, you need to think very hard and carefully. I'm not saying people must allow people to walk all over them and you know, all of that, but be careful. Be careful. Don't be a troublemaker unnecessarily. You see, some of us, right, me, I'm a very vocal person. I'm quiet. I don't like to talk. I prefer writing, actually. I don't like to talk to the extent that I hate calls. I avoid them as much as possible, but because of the nature of the work I do, calls are unfortunately part of the package. But generally, I prefer writing. Well, I do long voice notes, but now and again. But I don't like to talk. And I used to be a very vocal person. I would fight over every little thing, but now I pick my battles. But more to the point is that I'm not really easily intimidated or scared, right? And for me, I don't care how much political influence you have or how much influence you have wherever, you know. If I want to take you on, I will. But sometimes you want to play a wait and see game. Sometimes. So you'll allow certain things to happen, things you should be speaking up against, precisely because you don't want to jump the gun. But when you've reached that point that you say no more, which is me, when I've reached that point, then I come out guns blazing. And for me, there's no losing really, because when I do that without fear, knowing very well that I can lose my income, whether I'm employed or I'm an independent contractor or whatever the case is. I mean, I've fought people, had a huge fight in Cape Town with SASSA a couple of years back, with SASSA, the officials that we were dealing with as independent contractors. I mean, I was new. There were people who have been there for years, and they were quiet. We were not getting paid on time. There were always issues, and I lost it. Like literally 3 months in, I lost it. And to the extent that because what I then told them was that I quit. And 4 months in, I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore, because you are treating us, I don't know, like what. I wasn't rude, I wasn't brazen, but I was to the point and with a very firm tone in my communications with them. And they called us. They called a meeting, special meeting, and I'm saying I was new, because the guys I was working with had been there for years, the other GPs. I was temporarily doing GP work. So they made commitments and undertook to ensure that payments are processed on time. Because when you're following up on payments, they would be so cool and relaxed and send you from this person to that person. That person is on leave, you have to wait. Yo, they wrapped me up the wrong way. So they called this meeting for all of us, and all the officials in the management of that division that deals with the doctors. I forgot what they call it now. They were there. It was a virtual meeting anyway. So they made commitments and what. Then on the sidelines after that meeting, because I got along with their manager, it's just that unfortunately she was failed by her people. Also, she asked me, am I okay now? Am I staying? And I didn't know that the reason they called the meeting, I only picked up during that conversation that the reason they called that meeting, part of the reason, I can't say it's the only reason, but part of the reason they called that meeting is because I told them I'm leaving. I'm tired of this. And the reason they did that, by the way, not because I'm special, but you can see Western Cape is mostly along the coastal line, the vibrant towns anyway. And past Cape Town, if you're going towards Namibia, or like on the N7, if you're going to the Cederberg area, and then inland going to Ceres and I forgot this other town now, but when you go in that side, a few GPs want to go, because a lot of the GPs who are contracted by SASSA are based around the metro, Cape Town, and along the Garden Route, which is the coast, Knysna, George, that side. So I was one of the few who were willing to travel to travel out and go and do, because we had to go to the facilities where these applicants collect their chronic medication, so that you can look at the file and assess the person and all of that. So I was one of the few who would do that. So that's why I was, in a way, an important asset to have. But I was willing to forgo that, and I did quit, but I left on good terms. I explained to her, Shem, that because of what they were doing, I had to look for work. But in any case, I had already decided to quit because I was heartful. I was looking at other ways to make an income. So because I did come back in 2023, last year. I had applied. They were looking for a new panel to do a 3-year contract. So I had applied. I had been accepted as one of the panel people or their contractors. But unfortunately for them, I then got a job offer that I couldn't turn down. For me, it was a great opportunity, so I took it and relocated. But even then, I left on good terms. So I'm saying that even after that backlash, me fighting with them, because they understood why, and I was not wrong in doing that, and I tried to address it respectfully. But the tone had to be clear that we can't be treated this way. So yeah, I'm saying that there are times like that where you can't be a pushover, but how you address that becomes very important. Because this mentality that I don't need you, I don't need this job, being disrespectful to people because you're giving them the middle finger, basically. You're telling them you can take your job and what. That kind of behavior has long-lasting consequences. And I do believe, I think growing up and maturing into your career, you sort of learn, man, how certain things you don't need to prove points. I younger and earlier in my career, I think that's the mentality I had, that I needed to prove a point that I'm not scared of you. I love to challenge authority. Generally, I'm defiant by nature, so I loved to make it obvious. So if you think you're going to tone me down because you think I'm scared of your job title or whatever influence you think you have, I wanted to show you that I'm not scared of you. Because there's this mentality with people as well, people in hold certain positions and offices, thinking that they've got this imaginary power over you. Now, I always say that no one made me, so no one can destroy me. If anything, I'm going to destroy my future by my actions, but it's not going to be an individual who thinks they've got this imaginary power that will destroy me. People have tried. It's not like they haven't tried, but some of these things, you just let them be. That's what I'm saying, that you don't need to entertain every fight brought to your door. You weigh. So all in all, what I'm saying is that your behavior in the workplace now it's very important. When you address things, choose your words carefully. The tone, even if it's firm and saying I'm a no-nonsense type of person, but let it be professional. Keep it professional. Sorry, but yeah.